Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dale Menyo. The electricity demands of new data centers are so great that electricity supply and demand is one of the biggest issues facing agriculture and rural America, said Thomas Halverson, the president and CEO of Colorado based CoBank. He said last week, throughout the heart of the country shows where shortfalls may occur at normal peak conditions. In a speech to the International Dairy Food Association's Dairy Forum, Halverson told dairy processors they should pay attention to the electricity issue. Showing a map, Halverson said one area with the largest mismatch between electricity supply and demand is the Midwest. A large selection of the Midwest will start to see capacity shortfalls as early as 2025. Other regions have a larger runway but are still at risk through 2034. Until recently, electricity has operated on a flat demand for decades. Halverson said in 2024 wasn't much different than 2010, even though population and economy have grown. That's because the higher level of energy efficiency in homes put downward pressure on electricity consumption, and the economy shifted from manufacturing to service industries, which use less electricity, he said. But now, data centers to provide power mainly for artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency are being built, and they are ravenous consumers of electricity, Halverson said. The reshoring of manufacturing since the pandemic and the adoption of electric vehicles are adding to the demand, he said. Halverson noted that CoBank is an enormous lender to rural electric co-ops. Clearly, we have competing policy priorities in the country, Halverson said, noting the transition to cleaner energy and decarbonizing, but also essential need for reliable power. Even though the data centers are for artificial intelligence requiring lots of electricity, Halverson said he wanted to be sure to understand how optimistic he was for this. Artificial intelligence is game-changing technology. In order to use it, we are going to need more electricity than we've ever conceived of in the past. To vastly increase electric power, there has to be public policy supports, he said, with the equivalent of a war effort in which rural electric co-ops are going to play an important part. Halverson said he wants the development of artificial intelligence to take place in the United States rather than elsewhere in the world. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Precipitation trying to move away today over Ohio. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. We are looking at improving weather here through today. Rain activity will end by mid-afternoon at the latest in far eastern and southern parts of the state. Definitely much sooner than that everywhere else. I think we're going to be even seeing clouds try and give way to a little bit of sunshine as we move through this afternoon. Now, don't get too excited on that. With the system that came through, we may not be able to see clouds everywhere, but you get the idea. And we're still holding on to some milder air for the rest of today. Cold air starting to push out of Michigan into Ohio, likely late this afternoon into this evening. Going forward tomorrow, we are partly to mostly sunny, dry, but cooler. Not cold, cooler. And then we gear up for another round of moisture over the weekend. Through Saturday, clouds increase. We have rain and wet snow both that come through. I think most of Ohio is going to be in the rain camp. I'll keep an door open for maybe a little bit of freezing rain far north and some wet snow a little bit farther north of that. Not a big deal in my opinion, but we can see liquid equivalents of the weekend event anywhere from a tenth to 3/4 of an inch, 100% coverage across Ohio. Cooling down for Sunday afternoon as we get some sunshine back, and Arctic high pressure sits here through most of next week. I'm watching a system that comes up from the southwest out of Texas across the deep south for next Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday. There's a decent chance that some of that moisture can get here on a northwest path, but track is uncertain right now. If it happens, I think we're looking mostly at wet snow, but maybe a little bit of rain mixing in. I'll watch that closer as we get into early next week. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff at work.
I'm joined today by Dr. Horacio Lopez Nicora, OSU Extension soybean pathologist and nematologist, talking once again about downy mildew and some of the other oomycetes or water molds that exist in our environment.
So Phytophthora amphitheums, which are our soil-borne water mold, those are oomycete as well. Those are inhabiting the soil, right? These are Phytophthora amphitheum. We will find them in the soil. You and I, we talked several times about choosing the correct seed treatment when you have that type of issue. It's the same situation here, only that this one particularly, the one that we're talking about right now, which is Peronospora, that's the genus name, which causes downy mildew of soybean. This one will be able to move through air movement, through wind. So it's an airborne oomycete that will be able to travel, land on a leaf, infect a leaf, and cause that disease that we normally call downy mildew. It causes at the beginning a water-soaking look, yellow spot on the upper side of the leaf, and then when we turn that around, we can see a fuzzy growing. That's why the name downy mildew. Mildew comes from the fuzzy grow of this type of organism, downy, because we turn the leaf upside down and we can see these fuzzy grow.
And today's soybean research update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
And thanks, Dusty. Well, the first big trade dispute of the second Trump presidency ended Monday after 5 days of back and forth and whiplash to the markets with no tariffs imposed. President Donald Trump met with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, agreed that they would have no tariffs for at least 1 month after Mexico and Canada agreed to tighten border security and efforts to stop fentanyl. Mexico and Canada are the largest buyers of U.S. agricultural commodities. Mexico agreed to add 10,000 Mexican National Guard troops to the northern border, and Canada is already implementing a $1.3 billion border security plan that Trudeau and Trump had highlighted. As we look to other areas, most average retail fertilizer prices were higher than last month during the fourth full week of January, according to sellers surveyed by DTN. For the first time in 17 weeks, two fertilizers saw significant price increases, which DTN designates as anything 5% or more. Prices for 6 of the 8 main fertilizers were higher. The two significantly higher were urea and UAN 32, both up 5%. The other 4 that were up were DAP 1034-0, anhydrous, and UAN 28. That leaves 2 fertilizers slightly less expensive than a month ago, and that was MAP and potash. While potash continues to be a nutrient with the largest decline in price from last year, the fertilizer's low price could be in jeopardy. Potential tariffs on Canadian products initially announced by the Trump administration this past weekend could have increased the cost of Canadian potash by 25%, although there was some debate over whether Canadian fertilizer might have been exempt from the tariffs. The U.S. has delayed the tariffs for 30 days following negotiations between the U.S. and Canada on Monday. Before the tariffs were delayed, the Fertilizer Institute on Sunday issued a news release asking the Trump administration to exempt Canadian potash. The U.S. relies on imports for over 95% of its potash fertilizer needs, with about 90% of that coming from Canada. TFI on Monday said in another news release that they would welcome the announcement from the Trump administration to pause tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada. Open markets and fair competition are integral to the continued success of the U.S. agriculture sector and vital for fertilizer markets to provide the crop nutrients necessary to feed a growing world, TFI stated in its release. Stay tuned. We'll look at market numbers and analysis after this.
Whether you're in the fields or on the farm, creating a safer work environment has never been easier. BWC's safety consulting services are included with your policy premiums and offer training and education for everyone in your farming operation. It's always the right time to make safety a priority. Visit bwc.ohio.gov or call 1-800-644-6292. The Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, here to help you work safely. Morton Buildings is holding their annual Building Value Days sales event, running now until the end of February. If you are looking to build, now's the time to lock in your building project and save. Join them for their open house Friday, February 21st, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, February 22nd, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at one of their Ohio construction centers, Caldwell, Kenton, Wilmington, or Worcester. For more information and to find your local office, visit mortonbuildings.com. Certain restrictions may apply. This offer is available on select building styles. Contact your local construction center for more details.
Crude oil and gasoline futures contract prices dropped Wednesday following reports from the Energy Information Administration and the American Petroleum Institute of a build in U.S. crude and gasoline inventories for the week ended January 31st. The EIA said commercial crude inventories in the U.S. rose by 8.7 million barrels to 423.8 million in the week ended January 31st. Gasoline inventory posted a build of 5.426 million barrels in the week ended January 31st, and distillate fuel supply tumbled 6.979 million barrels. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Want information on marketing soybeans to LDC? Give them a call, 574-566-2113. With your market analysis, here's Ryan Martin.
A mixed bag in the marketplace on Wednesday at midweek, with corn trading fractionally higher, at least May forward through new crop. Wheat was down only a couple of pennies, and then you ended up with the soybean market that just took a big old jump off the cliff, finishing down double digits with the March contract down 18. To the reasons that were in the marketplace yesterday, soybeans were sliding first on Argentine rain, and then the U.S.-China trade war worry was probably a big thing. There's a Trump proposal that's going to be out the end of next week to end the Russia-Ukraine war. So all sorts of things in here. Argentina has received an abundance of rain across the heart of its grain area from Buenos Aires into Cordoba. The rain continues to fall as a cold front is pushing northward. Anywhere from 2 to 4.5 inches of rain go a long way to restoring soil moisture. It just backs up my thought process that the Argentina crop is not in that bad of a shape. President Trump is expected to announce a plan next week to end the Russia-Ukraine war. The announcement will be made in Munich at an EU security conference during the week. The proposal is being circulated and called the Peace Through Strength Initiative. The rumors have proposed that Ukraine should be provided with security guarantees to ensure that Moscow can't attack in return for critical mineral rights for the United States. There's exporter-connected talk yesterday that China purchased about 5 to 6 cargoes of Argentine soybeans for April delivery. China may have bought 1 to 3 cargoes of beans out of the Pacific Northwest for immediate shipment. Those will be hard to get in and done in February, but maybe there's a chance. With the Brazilian harvest starting to gain speed due to favorable weather, the chances for additional soybean purchases are diminished, and that hit the market relatively hard yesterday. There was a reported sale of 330,000 metric tons of U.S. corn for delivery in the 25-26 marketing year. That is a new crop, not old crop sale. That's your market recap. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Today's market's brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Overnight at the open, we've had a kind of an unusual start, and we've seen two-sided trade early. March corn now down 3/4 at 492.5. The May's off 3/4 at 504. December's back lower, but did see two-sided trade. It's a penny lower at 467.5. Beans have also seen two-sided trade. March now down 1/4 cent at 1056 3/4. May unchanged at 1072 1/4. And November new crop unchanged at $10.62.5. On the wheat, March is 569 down 3 1/4. Then July new crop down 2 1/4 at 594.5. September down 2 1/2, trading at $6.08. Just that quick, beans have turned 1/4 to a 1/2 cent higher. Today's market's brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. February cattle, $203.60, up $1.72. The April closed up $265 at $201.30, and June up $267 at $195.90. February lean hogs 86.65, up $1.57. The April closed up $1.80, putting it at 91.55, and May 95.72, up $1.97. Feeder cattle even stronger. April up $2.85 at $270.47. The May up $3 at $268.80. And August feeder cattle up $3.02 at $270.27. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, everyone. I'm Dale Menyo. This is the Ohio AgNet.